Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for another Journaling on a Budget memory lane. We have a huge mess here and that's because I have some things drying and I have some things out to show you what I'm going to do before next week, but we're not going to do it on camera because it's going to take a long time, but I will walk you through it and show you how it turns out next week. So to start with, I have decided that we need to cover our spines with some fabric. So I went ahead and I put in a support for the second book spine and slide that aside so that this spine is nice and solid, like this spine is nice and solid, which we had already done this one because we sewed our signatures in to a blind spine, which means we sewed it to this piece and then we glued that on there so the sewing doesn't show up on the outside. But it does seem to be, these are just a little too tattery. And so I think they need to be covered. Plus, I'm afraid I don't want them to fall apart. And with all the opening and closing and stuff, eventually, they could really get wore down. So I went ahead and I put the support in here to hold that nice and solid because it definitely wasn't thick enough all on its own to just leave it. And so what I'm going to do for next week is I am going to take a piece of fabric. I chose this upholstery fabric. And what I'm going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it with E6000. And so I will rough up this spine and then I will put the E6000 on and spread it out. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to line it up. I kind of have it to where there's some circles that will go down the center and then a circle on each side. That just kind of gives me something to judge with. So I'm going to line those up and I'm going to stick that to the spine, get it nice and lined up exactly where I need it. And then I will set it down on my table. And again, with this awesome idea, weight it down with a bag of beans. And I'm going to do that to both spines. Once that has dried, because now it's going to look like this, it'll be straight, hopefully. This will not be glued down yet. At that point, once this is on here nice and solid, so I'm not trying to deal with this, and, trying to get it all there and get it all straight at the same time. And I want this to be nice and sturdy. This is a spine. It's very important to us. Other things, you can glue them in and work right away. I'm a big believer in letting things dry. That is something that Papa has always banged into my head. Let it dry overnight. And so I will glue that spine first and it will still be sticking out like this. Then I will glue down the two sides. And once I get those two glued down, then what I will do is I will take, now I actually have some wood pieces wrapped in parchment that are exactly the length of most of my journals. I have two different sets for the two different sizes I make. I can't find them anywhere. I don't know where they went. And I only do this when I, have something that, because this is a very stiff fabric, I'm afraid it's going to lift. So what I have here is I have some rulers. Wrapped them in parchment paper so that if the glue does seep through, it will not stick to my rulers and glue them to my book. So I will put one on this side. And I will put one on this side, like this, and then I will put a clamp on it. So when I come back next week, I will show you what these look like clamped, and we'll take the clamps off and see how everything turned out. But like I said, the first thing I have to do is glue this, weight it down, and let it sit till it dries. Then I have to glue both sides, and then I have to put these on here like this, clamp them together, and then let them sit until they dry really well. And at that point, then we can move forward. And at that point, we're going to put some eyelets into our spine, which is another reason I want to do this now, so that I don't have a whole lot that I have to work around when I'm trying to put those eyelets in, because we've already have this sewn into our spine. And so I'm going to have to decide, do I want to try and put my hole here and kind of slide the eyelet under this way? Do I want to take the 2 signatures and try and kind of move them aside a little bit and put the eyelet in here and slide it under each one before I bend it down? You know, that's what I'm going to have to decide. And the eyelet will be on the outside, the larger piece of the eyelet. The bent over portion will be here. So I've already got this kind of in my way. I don't want to do the same thing on the other side and get a bunch of stuff in there and then decide, now I have to put an eyelet in here, and I have a whole bunch of stuff connected on the inside where the eyelet has to come through. So, and we'll put the eyelets in next week when we get back. I will show you what they look like with the wood on them, and then we'll take it off and see how that turns out. And then with those 2 eyelets, they will be here, and then we will put some ribbon through them, and that way you can tie your journal together. So, but I chose this. This is actually the correct side of the fabric. That's just too bright for me. And so I chose this. This part of the fabric was ripped, and it was very hard to rip the upholstery fabric. So I only did that side because I love the way it's a little more tattered than the other side where I just went ahead and stripped the strings off. So I'm going to put the ripped part on the front. So the front will look with these dots in the center. The front will look kind of like that. So so that's what I'm going to do. And so what we're going to do this week, but I wanted to show you that before I did it, just so you could, you know, possibly get an idea of how I do it, instead of just telling you after it's done, even though I'm just telling you now. But you know, I can show you a little more that way. So I'll put all of that stuff that we'll need there. And then today, we're going to make some tags and things for our journal. So I pulled out a few things. I pulled out some of the pages out of the books because we can use these in our circus page and our railroad page of our map side of the journal. So, and then I pulled out, I believe that this is, I know it is, this is Oklahoma red clay dyed paper. So this was just some paper that I dyed with Oklahoma red clay after we came back from our daughters, and it's very nice and smooth. It's not gritty or dirty or anything. I did really wash them all or wipe them all really well after they were done. And then I have some tea-dyed papers because we're going to do tags and that type of thing. We need these papers to put on the back of our tags so they can be written on. I'm a firm believer that if it's going to be a tag or a journaling card, you need to be able to write on them, or otherwise kind of what's the point, unless you just want some kind of decoration. So to start with, I thought this would make a really nice, just large journaling card because it's got a really nice picture on it for the circus. And so we're just going to, I'm going to cut this down across the top and cut it across the bottom, and then I'm going to use my trimmer to trim the edge, the sides, because this side is a little tattered. But I had a line to follow there, and I just want to make sure that this edge is nice and straight. Just cut that off. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is, because I know I have a straight edge on that, I am going to, yes, because this is not even, I can see. It's a little shorter on that end than this end. I don't do well at cutting straight lines. So now I know that is straight, so now I can put this one up here. Cut that, and then I'm going to do the top also. Okay, so that's going to be a really nice journaling card. So then I thought that this would make, I got a nice straight edge there. This would make nice pockets and a double pocket spread on a single page. So I am going to trim this down. Kind of fold back. I guess I don't have to fold it back. When I cut it off, it will. I didn't quite get my rip spot there, so I'm going to have to move it over a little bit. There we go. And line it up there. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that if I cut it right across the middle here, I can put a pocket at the top of the page and a pocket at the bottom of the page to put tags in both spots. Much better than having a pocket that's that large, because if the pocket is that large, it's hard to get things in and out of. I think I need to go back just a little bit. There. Okay, so there we have two separate pockets. And I'm gonna cut this off just a little bit more. I don't like that little bit of brown on there. There. Okay. They don't have to be the same size. They're a little bit different in size, and I will put the shorter one at the top and the taller one at the bottom. So those will make nice bands across our journal. And so, let's see. And I thought that this page, and I'm not going to be able to do it here, but I'll just show you the page. This page, I think, will work really nice as a flip. So we can put it into, because each of our map places has a double spread. And so this could be taped into the center of that double spread and flip back and forth. And we can cover this side with paper. And then we can either leave it as it flips open and it can be a really nice large journaling spot, or we could put a pocket or something on it. But also this paper, these papers are, excuse me, even if this was a really nice picture, I'd have to choose a side, because this paper is a little bit delicate. Not really bad, but it just doesn't rip well. So, and then this one. So I found this one, and if you can see, it's separated into 4 pieces. And I thought, wouldn't it be kind of awesome to make 2 tags and 2 tags that fit together like a puzzle? And so that's what we're going to do with this one. And I don't like this here, but I don't know where my large, I need my large trimmer for this. Hold on just one second. Okay, sorry about that, but I want to be able to trim down the edges first. So we're going to use our full-size trimmer. I know that the top is straight, or it should be. It came out of the book. And I am just going to trim off all of the white because I don't want that on there. And again, once you cut a straight line, you should be able to just continue to turn it and continue to, then all of the rest of them will be nice and straight. Now this one, I ripped really badly here, so I'm going to have to cut this one over a little bit. And then finally, cut it here. Oh. And you have to be careful to hold them and not let them move. Okay, so there we go. Now this is going to make 4 journaling cards, but we're going to back it first. And then we have a few more here. I thought that this one would make a nice belly band. So I am going to trim off this edge to maybe have as much white as that edge. Maybe. I will see if I actually can get it pretty close. That's pretty good. It's a touch bigger, but I'm not going to mess with it. Now, I'm not going to cut off the top and the bottom because this is going to be a belly band. So we will attach it at the top and the bottom of our pages. But I don't know exactly how large our pages are because we have cut those down to fit in the book because we put our pen holder in there. So I'm going to just back the back of this because it needs to be sturdy. but I will cut it when we get to the point of putting it in the book. And then we have just a few more here that we can make into journaling cards or tags. And these ones will be just nice little tags, which it's nice to have different sizes and not always have everything the same. I didn't get all the white off the edge of there, and I do want it off, so do that again. There we go. I do that quite often. I'm so afraid that I'm going to cut too much. I don't cut quite enough. Okay, so there's one little tag. Oops, I need to still do the top of that one. And then this one. And then finally, our last one that's going to be a tag. For now, anyways. We'll still need lots of tags for our other parts of our map, for our other pages. But because I have these books right in front of me, I thought it would be a nice, easy way to get started. There we go. Okay. So, now, you have the option to use regular glue, wet glue, or stick glue. So either one works well. For smaller ones, I like the stick glue, and I've lost it. Oh, I have it right here. Okay, but for the larger ones, sometimes I prefer to use regular wet glue. But then, you know, it's all just option and choice, and maybe I will just do stick glue on all of them today. But we will just start out with, let's say, well, we're going to back them first, and then we're going to decide whether we're going to cut them into a tag shape or whether we are going to cut them into a journaling card shape, which the only difference is, I love this dotty paper, and you can write on that. That's not too bad. So I am going to put these three on the dotty paper. And because I'm going to use the paper, I'm going to glue right onto it, because getting glue on it won't hurt anything. So, and this is an all-purpose glue. It's not a kid's glue stick. So the children's glue sticks a lot of times do not hold that well, but permanent glue sticks, or, you know, this is an Elmer's all-purpose, so it should hold well. And I'm gonna line it up with just a little bit of the paper around the edge, and then I will decide if I want to leave the paper and trim it a little bit on each side to leave paper, or if I want to cut that right off. But if I leave a little edge, I don't have to line it up exactly on those edges, and then I have that option. And you do just want to make sure that you get your edges well, get your corners well. And then if you find that it's kind of lifting up a little bit, I'm going to put this one even further down because that corner is kind of messed up. So if I want to leave a white edge on this one, I don't want to have to deal with that messed up corner. Okay, and then we'll do this one and cut it out. There we go. Okay, so that's all we're going to do with that for right this second. And then we're going to decide journaling card or tag. So I'm going to cut them. I'll cut them all with the little bit of extra. Oh, I really messed that one up. I got too close to the corner. I was going to just do it big and then cut it with the trimmer. So This one definitely is going to be cut right next to our original piece. And you could even leave that little bit at on the top and the one side, and then it would be asymmetrical. So, okay, so this would make a really nice journaling card. We could do the corners, but we're going to lose a little bit of this, and I don't want to do that. So you need a journaling card, and you want to round your corners, but you don't have a corner rounder. So we are just going to, I'm going to grab my little trimmer here. I just want to make sure that I definitely have straight edges on this. So when you're cutting with a guillotine trimmer, make sure you hold it down nice and hard. Normally there's a spot to hold it down, and that is also to keep your fingers out of the way. But because sometimes a guillotine cutter will want to push it, and then it won't be square. Okay, so we want to make some tags. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut the corner off, and then I'm going to flip it over and cut the corner off over here. Now, this is how you would cut a tag each time that you cut a tag if you want to do them individually. I'll look at this side and see if it looks good, and it does. But you can also use this as a template now every time that you want to make a journaling card, or you want to make a tag that you want that angle on. And for a journaling card, you don't have a corner rounder. Well, you can do this in many different sizes, so that if you want bigger ones or smaller ones, but all you need to do is just go ahead and round that corner. And then do the same on this side. Okay, now I'm off a little bit, so I'm going to trim this just a little smidgen because I want them to be the same. And this was over just a little bit too far that way, so if I trim that right there, yep, that looks perfect. And now I'm going to carefully, because I'm going to use this over and over, I'm going to carefully cut these out. And this one I did not do a very good job on. And if you ever go and craft with a friend and they have a corner punch and you don't, you could always use their corner punch to punch yourself a few of these. And then you will have templates for at home. I got a little point there and I just can't get it off. Seriously, I can't get it with the scissors. I'm actually going to try this. That did it. There we go. Okay, so now you can use this over and over and over. Maybe mark it so that you don't use it for something else. And now if I want to round these corners, I can just line this one up here, and I can either draw around it or just cut around it. I prefer to cut around it because then I know I'm not going to wind up with part of that line left on my tag. And then I'm going to line this one up over here. And if you do standard size tags, you know, if you commonly have a size that you like to make a lot, then just go ahead and make your template that size. But there we go. There are those two edges, and now I need to do these two also, because normally the journaling cards are rounded on the corners. Not always, and you don't have to, and some people take a little snip off the corner. You know, you can just do it however you want to. And normally it doesn't really take me this long to do this, but you know, being that it's on camera, it always, for some reason, makes everything a little harder. So there we go. Now we have our nice rounded edges, and so because the paper was bumped up there, it didn't stick down real well. Okay, where's my little thing? Got a couple air bubbles in there. Okay. All right, so there we go. One journaling card done. Then I will probably distress the edges of this with either tea stain or vintage photo, but that looks really cute. And now that will go really well with our train section of our journal. So, you know, and so now we have a template. So we can make rounded edges or we can make corners. And if the corners are too big, you know, you can always, a lot of times what I do is I'll do like corners here and corners here, like larger ones and smaller ones. Because like this one here, this is a very small tag if I make it into a tag. So I wouldn't want corners that big. Now, tags are always easier to do because you can flip that corner over and make them the same that way. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to come in like that, and then you need to flip it over. And hold it on there, and then just make sure you cut basically in the same spot right next to the other one. And there we go. Now we have a really cute little tag. And so this one, I'll line that up at the top. And I'm going to line up the edge of my tag with, there's like a center line here on this thing that holds it down. So if I do that with all of them, it should be the same. The edge of my tag with that line should be the same distance all the way around. Without having to measure. And then finally, whoops, I almost lined the edge of my tag up with the blade. There we go. So now that one has the same border all the way around. And because I put the white border on there, I don't think I want to round it or turn it into a tag. I just want it to stay that way. So there's another one. Okay, so now this one. This one I think is going to be really cool. I don't know. It was just something I had in my head when I saw that this was in 4 pieces. So I'm just going to put that I want kind of a flatter, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this with wet glue because all of my tea dyed papers are a little bit wrinkled, and then it's going to go in a book. So, and then maybe when we're done, if I don't forget, and if it's dry enough, I'll show you how I want to cut it. Hold on just a second. There we go. I want a piece of parchment so that the glue doesn't get all over the place. And then make sure that you get it all the way out to the corners, all the way out to the edges. Okay, and then just kind of take off the excess a little bit, because just because it's wet glue does not mean that you need to have a whole ton. And you can just do that part right there with the credit card. I'm not going to try and put it in a corner. I'm putting it in the middle of my paper. And then I want to remember to go and make sure that when you're smushing it out with your credit card or whatever you're using, make sure that you wipe the glue off it before you put it back on your picture to smooth the next section. And just go from the center out. And then I am actually going to turn it over to check the back side, because there's a wrinkle right there. Okay, now this is going to go in my atlas with parchment paper. I'm going to throw the bags of beans on top of it. There we go. Really give it some weight. So hopefully we can do that when we're done. Okay, now just because this is, because it's not real sturdy, we want to back it with, and normally I would back this with a piece of card because it's going to be a belly band. I don't have a piece of card right here, so I'm going to set that aside for a second. Now this one. This one, let's see what we have here, because I thought I saw one here that had some, a pretty, there. Okay, so this one has this, what you call it, had some lace on it. I'll put that in there like that. I'm just going to cut off there. If I put it in there like this, this will be the outside and the bottom. Let's do it this way. Yep, I'm going to do it this way. So then we'll have the lace at the top and the lace on the outside, because it's going to flip in like that. So I'm going to do the same with this one as I did with the other, because I want it to be nice and sturdy, being that it's going to be a flip. And not only does putting the paper on the back really help make it sturdy, but the glue, when you use wet glue especially, the glue helps make it sturdy. Once it's dry, that glue makes it much more solid. And sometimes I do use a little more glue than I need to. And yes, that is kind of wasteful, but when you're in a hurry on the camera, you just kind of sometimes don't think about it. So if it offends you that I've wasted the glue, I do apologize. Okay, so we're going to get this all the way out to the edge. Make sure we get those corners, and again, we'll check them when we're done. when they're all dry, we'll just go ahead and make sure. Okay, let's see. I want this. Okay, so there's a corner there. I want that to be the top and the outside. I think that this is the way I want to line it up. I'm going to put it fairly close to the edges, but not perfectly. Really smooth it down nice and well. Get contact everywhere. And you know, really, and when you smooth that glue off before you do this part, you don't wind up getting a lot of glue squishing out, which is really nice. Definitely want to check the back. And the one thing about wet glue is now we have to put it in the atlas to dry. All right, so let's do one more piece of this since we've already got some of the tea dyed. And this one has a bit of a leaf on it. I like the looks of that, so that's the piece I'm going to use. So I'm going to want to put it right there. And this one I am just going to stick glue because I think it should be all right. And this is, I've seen other people use the Elmer's All-Purpose Glue and say that it's great. So this is my first time of actually using it. I normally use a permanent glue stick. But I don't have any here right this second. So, plus the fact of my permanent glue stick is a small glue stick. And so, it takes a long time to do a larger piece. I'm going to put this right up towards the edge, but not quite. Then I don't have to worry about it. Give it a quick smooth. Check the back. That looks good. And where is, we'll cut it out first. And the biggest thing is whenever you're going to make a cut, the longer the stroke that you can make on your scissors, the less it's going to be, your scissors don't bend. So for that whole cut, it should be at least straight in that area. And it won't be all choppy. And you should have something a little more firm to spread it out on. If I didn't say that, I was thinking it a few minutes ago. I don't know if I said it or not. So there we go. And I did not cut up this edge because I liked that little bit of white on there. I don't know why. It bothers me if it actually belongs to this, but that's the paper from behind. And because this is going to be a journaling tag, I am going to round the corners. Go, and the thing about the rounded corners is when you go to stick something into a pocket, the rounded corner kind of tends to not catch as much as a square corner does. At least that's the way that I feel. It just seems like they tuck in so much easier with the rounded corner. And there we go. So now we have a really nice large journaling tag. Again, one that we can go ahead with all of these and just put a little distress stains on the edges. And the last two that we have are our pockets and our belly band. And because they're all going to have things slid in and out and in and out, I think I would prefer to do these on just a plain old piece of white cardstock. And the thing is that you're not going to see it because that's the inside of the pocket. So I'm not a huge fan of white, but being that that's the inside of the pocket, it doesn't matter. So, but what I am going to do is I'm going to line these up at the top. So they're going to be two pockets like this. Okay, so, and I want to put the little punch in them. And, oh, I didn't bring a small punch, so I will do it after I put the white cardstock on the back, which you don't need to watch me glue these things, but we'll punch it next time, because the way to do that would be to line them up at the top, not the bottom, because when you punch it, you want your punch to be the same size and in the same place. So it makes it easier if you do this and then punch it. If it's not exactly in the center, it doesn't matter, because when you put them on your page, they're going to be exactly in line with each other. If you go ahead and measure it and then try and punch it, you know, you can do that, but you might be off just a little bit this way or that way, and you might notice it, and it might bother you. So if you just hold them together before you put them in your book, and then put your thumb punch in there, then you'll know that they're both in exactly the same spot. So when you put them in your book, they line up very nicely. So that is what we'll do with that. So let's see. It's probably not dry enough, but maybe I'll do it anyways and then just stick it back in the book, because I really want to show you what I want to do with this one. Oh, it's definitely not dry enough. But, all right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, I think I'll use the trimmer. I'm going to cut it out. I probably should not be doing this while it's damp like this, but I want to try and line that up, because it's not necessarily straight on it's not necessarily straight on my paper. Okay, so that should be straight. Okay. Okay. And actually, oh, yeah, we'll do it, and I'll throw it in the... So this is what I want to do. I want to make it kind of like a puzzle. Now, we could actually cut it across and cut a piece like this like a puzzle piece. But I think what I'm going to do is just... do I want to just cut it kind of wavy? Yes, because they'll be easier to kind of fit together. So I'm just going to start here and go like this. And then, do I want to cut her hands off? Because I don't have to. Okay, I'm going to stop right there in the center. Think about that. Well, we're going to cut his legs off, so... There's one. There's two. Excuse me. And three. Excuse me. So now on the page where we have the two pockets, so long as these aren't too big, we can put these, See, they fit together. Isn't that kind of cool? But we can put 2 of these in the top pocket, and we can put 2 of these in the bottom pocket. And if we want, we can round these corners, just the 4 outside corners. We don't want to round them here where they won't fit together. But it's just kind of, I thought that that was just kind of fun, and just put them all on the same page, or you could even spread them out throughout the journal. So that it's one of those things where people have to go find it to put them together. But I think that that's really cute. I like the way that that looks. So this is going back in the book so that they can dry nice and flat. And along with the other one. And when we come back, we will go ahead and we'll put the punch on this one, and I will have these all ready. I'll have them already on cardstock, and we will find out how the spine turned out on our journal. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.